All right. Hi. Hello, everyone on Facebook, and welcome to all you beautiful people who are live with me in my Zoom room. Happy Wednesday. It is truly awesome to connect with you. I'm Debora Wayne. I'm the founder of the International Chronic Pain Institute, doing this live today from sunny San Diego. And today we're talking about pain and trauma, and how to safely and release pain and trauma in the fastest way possible without re-triggering the past trauma, because who wants to do that, right? And there's so much I want to thank you for the compliment, Gail. Thank you so much. There's so much I want to say about this topic because we are all going through a collective form of trauma right now with everything that's been happening on the planet in so many areas. It's more than just individual trauma, it's collective. And so nobody's escaping this. And you know, in the past, trauma was thought of as the men who went off to war, right? Like it was traumatic to be in a war zone or be around some type of murder or some heinous crime or something we would think of as big Hollywood moments in terms of trauma. But it's gotten very different, and we have a much broader understanding of this now, and why and how it's also interconnected to pain. So this is a seriously important topic. And I also want to make sure I don't forget to tell you all to stay on the call to the very end today, because I'm going to take you through a powerful technique, an exercise that I'm going to guide you through to help you release pain and trauma. And so if you have had anything from your past or even recent times, what we're going through now, that's been traumatizing to you, then this technique will really, really help you move that out. And it can work very, very rapidly. So, and I also want to thank those of you that sent in your questions for me ahead of time. Thank you for those. And if you're in my Zoom room right now and you have questions about your personal experience with pain or trauma, please type them into the chat, or at the bottom of the screen you'll see something that says Q&A. You could put your questions either place, in the Q&A, or if you can't find the Q&A, type your questions into the chat, and I will at different times come back to the Q's with the A's for you. And again, thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy life to be here with me and to be part of the collective healing. Because one of the things you may not realize is that when you work on yourself to evolve, to grow personally, spiritually, when you care about your health, when you work on your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, your spiritual health, even when you work on your relationships, your career, your finances, everything, when you work on you, you're helping the collective. Because, and I really want to emphasize this today, we are all interconnected. We're not separate. And so it's actually part of your higher purpose. If you are really into growing and evolving and working on yourself, as I know many of the people in my community are, and you've been working on yourself for a long time, you've been doing it for more than yourself and may not even realize it. That part of your highest purpose is to clear out the things that stand in the way of you fully achieving your full potential. And this will help your lineage and all the other people that you don't even know. Because we live in a field of interconnected energy and information. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. But every time you have new conversations, new ideas, new information, we put this into the collective field, and everybody taps into this, whether they know it or not. It's the same with trauma. So they've done studies that show that we feel what others are going through, even if we don't know them. And there's been so much going on in recent months that we are all feeling. And in fact, have any of you, give me some responses in the Facebook and in the chat, have any of you noticed that over the past few months, when you would wake up in the morning, you didn't feel like your normal self? You felt different, or maybe you sensed things going on and you couldn't quite place where it was coming from or why you were thinking or having those thoughts or feeling that way. You see here, yeah, and here are the yeses. This is because you're connected to this field of information that everyone is going through. And so even if in your own little world everything's been going pretty well, all the other people suffering right now you're noticing that. You're going to sense that to some degree, some people more than others. So Clarity's saying yes in the pit of her stomach. And Nancy's asking a great question, which is what's normal? Well, there is no normal, but what we're going through now is very different than what we've been through. When was the last time the world was quarantined? I never experienced this before. And when was the last time we had such upheaval in many different institutions, all at the same time? And so a lot of things are happening. And trauma, you see, in today's world, you don't have to be in a war zone to experience trauma. Trauma is considered a strong disturbance of some kind. And it could be an accident, an injury, a car accident. It could be any kind of physical harm that causes severe disturbance, pain, suffering. But it could be emotional as well. And we're going through emotional trauma everywhere. Most people, many people. And the other thing about trauma is that it's often related way, way back to early childhood. And you may have no recollection of that. But the reason that's important is that, well, many reasons, but one of the things I want to talk about today is that when you've had trauma in your childhood, you may not recognize how it's influencing many, many other areas of your life 30, 40, 50, 60 years later. And then when we have massive trauma like we're having on the planet, it can resemble trauma from the past. And so if you've been noticing, and let me know in the chat, if you've been noticing physical pain increasing, one of the main reasons this could be is because of the current trauma triggering the past trauma, or unresolved past trauma that you didn't realize was unresolved. Even if you've worked on it, it may be not unresolved. And then it's like layering more and more and more on until finally one day you wake up and the closet's full. And so it's just so painful. And the body gives us feedback. See, the body is always giving us feedback. And I want you to recognize that your body isn't against you. It's your friend. It really is. I say this again and again, if you've heard me speak before, your body is your friend, and so is pain. It's got a message in it all the time. And it's just showing you something needs to be dealt with that you're either not seeing or hearing or listening to deep enough and getting the right solutions for. And one of the reasons trauma does not heal is because you can't just talk about it. And there's a lot of attention on physical pain without seeing the connection to the emotional pain from earlier experiences. And if emotions do not get released, they implode. They go inside and implode, and they come out sideways as a symptom. You see, emotions are energy. And energy needs to be in motion. It's going to go somewhere. It changes form constantly. It doesn't die. It doesn't ever disappear. It just changes and either releases or it goes inward. And so pain, physical pain, isn't separate from emotional pain. And if you've had trauma of any kind, you're bound to have feelings about it. And most people don't want to feel certain feelings. So what do? They try to what? They try to stop from feeling uncomfortable. They try to stop any kind of physical pain. I've worked with thousands of people who had severe abuse, neglect, abandonment, criticism, shaming, bullying, lots of things from the past and maybe a long time ago and maybe in the recent past. But these types of issues show up. They cause a reaction emotionally, physically, mentally, and they affect every area of life if we don't resolve them. Think about if you don't resolve your inner conflicts, it's like having a ringing, twisted rope, just the stress of always just stressing you. And how is that not going to affect your health, right? We just have such an overly focused world that focuses on physical pain alone. And people don't want to talk about the trauma from their past. It's so amazing how many people, especially those I've worked with where there was sexual abuse, never told anyone. Now or they had this, and this is what I experienced. When I went to tell someone, my mother, she said, "Oh, honey, that's impossible. You must be imagining things." Right? So it was never addressed. I was never validated or acknowledged. And there's differing, ranges of severity of this. And fortunately for me, there was one incident only, and it was mild compared to many people that I know or that I've worked with. But it doesn't really matter. It's not about grading the scale, the point, which is worse or better. The point is that if you had abuse and you registered it as abuse, whether it's imaginary or not, it's real for you. And if nobody validates it, acknowledges it, tells you, oh, it's all in your head, you're making it up, that's abuse on top of abuse. And these are challenging things to live with, to say the least. But it's not. I want to make sure I'm clear here that it can heal, and it does heal, and it doesn't matter how long you've waited. Don't wait another day, and let's get it healed. Because it does influence everything that you experience and how you view the world and all your relationships and yourself, and it interferes. And I've just seen so much abuse when I've worked with my clients and in my group programs. It's just rampant. And most people don't talk about it. And so this is why when there is abuse or when there is some form of trauma from the past, a lot of people that are not talking about it are internalizing it, keeping it a secret. And guess what? Keeping secrets causes shame. And when you internalize shame, it affects everything. Your self-esteem, your confidence, your motivation, your sense of purpose, your sense of beauty, your sense of belonging, so many things. Your friendships, your trust in life, in people, in God, in everything, in yourself. And so, I was taught years ago when I was first starting out on my healing journey that we're only as sick as the secrets we keep. And boy, I had a lot of secrets because when I wasn't validated, and the implication was I was making it up. First of all, why would I make something like that up? But nevertheless, that was what was implied. I started doubting myself a lot, and I started shutting myself down, shutting my voice down, dimming my light. It doesn't make you want to run out into the world and go, here I am, let me share my gifts. No, it makes you want to kind of curl up in a corner alone and not let anyone in, and be very much on guard and keep your tentacles out like an octopus, always looking for danger. Can anyone relate? Would you please give me some, can you relate to this? Give me some comments in the chat, please. And some great questions coming up. So I will, yes, okay, so Roberto's saying the sick, knotty feeling in your stomach, lost appetite, paralyzed by fear. How can I release this? And more important, send healing to a loved one. Well, it's not more important to send healing to a loved one. You must heal yourself. So yeah, you're not, that knotty, sick feeling in your stomach is that something is off. It is not, it's not healed for you. And until you heal yourself, you know, there's so many people that I used to be like this too. They're so busy focused on everybody else. Let's help everybody else. And quite frankly, that's a way to avoid ever having to work on your own issues. And it doesn't work because you can't give something that you don't have. If you have not released and dealt with issues internally, you will shut someone else down and you won't even realize you're doing it. If you can't allow your own feelings to come up and be expressed and resolved, and you don't know how, you will shut down other people and you won't even know you're doing it. So it's not helpful to not work on yourself. The greatest thing you could ever do for anyone else is make your life so good, so happy, so blissful, so powerful that the people around you go, I want what you're having. Seriously. Another caller is saying, I have had trauma. I have been sexually abused as a child and several other traumas, and I've worked through them, but I noticed more comes up. Well, what happens is we tend to work on the most superficial layer first, which is great. I mean, it's, first of all, congratulations. It says a lot about you that you were even willing to work on it. A lot of people just ignore it, try to pretend it never happened, try to not even open Pandora's box because they're afraid and they don't want to feel. And you know what, quite frankly, until you have the right guide and mentor and tools, I understand why people deny all of this. It's not a good idea until you have the right guide and the right tools, because you won't know what to do with it if it comes up. You won't even let it come up. That's what happens is your brain is wired to keep you alive. It's wired to keep your body alive. It's not wired to keep you happy. So your brain will circumvent trauma and pain and compensate. You'll shut yourself down just like I did in order to survive very traumatic experiences before you'll just start dealing with it. Because if you don't know how to deal with it and you don't have support around you and you don't have the right tools, you won't, and a part of you knows that. And so it won't allow it to come up until you find the right teacher or method. And then that's why I think so many people who come into my pain-free living program say, I've been working on myself for 30 years and this stuff never came up. Or it would start to come up, but then I got stuck in nothing. I could never feel anything. I never cried. I never had anything happen. I never released anything. And that's because they weren't in a safe space with the right teacher and the right tools. And it requires all three. You have to feel safe, or you're not going, a part of you that's trying to keep you safe. See, a part of you is there to keep you safe. Thank that part. That's how you survived. It may have shut down a part of you, but that's how you survived. So it's not a bad part. It's just it's just not going to allow you to fully access the deepest healing that's needed, which is why, back to your question, that you notice more comes up. And you may also be experiencing that we can only handle so much at a time. If everything were to come up overnight, you know, people say to me every day when I work with them, Deborah, I just want it all to change. Fix me, right? Wave the magic wand. But the truth is, if everything came up at once, for most people, it would be overwhelming. It would be too much. It's like, you know, you can't eat more than you can handle, or you feel sick. And it's the same with this. Now, I'm not saying it can't change overnight, and I'm not saying a lot of things won't, and I'm not saying it has to take years. It doesn't. See, that's where the new method like high-speed healing is so important, because we do have new solutions now that we didn't have 5 and 10 years ago, that, or at least it wasn't commonly known, and it's becoming more common, that we can speed up the healing process and resolve these without, and no offense to talk therapists, because I was one, you know, we don't need 10 years of talk therapy anymore to heal deep trauma. And so this can heal, and you're probably ready to go to deeper levels, or you could go to deeper levels and bring more up more rapidly with a method like high-speed healing. Let me check a couple other comments. This is some great questions in here. I'm going to come back to all of these. I just want to say a couple things first. There's a field classified in physics, you've heard me talk about this before, called the biofield. And it's not something I made up. It's an actual field in physics. It was first called an information field, because the field around every living thing around your body is informing the body. And the field is like it's a big, wide, big field. And it's like a recording device that's been recording everything that's ever happened to you. And it's invisible vibrational information, but it's been recording thoughts, emotions, things that were said to you, all of your experiences. Imagine, I don't mean this lightheartedly, but this is a great visual for it. Imagine it's like lint, and you're wearing black clothing, and all of the experiences of your life, particularly the disturbances, are like white pieces of lint that start sticking to you. Really, all of your experiences. And it starts sticking to you. It's coming into your field, and then the lint starts sticking. Now, over time, you're going to be covered in white lint. You will even not realize you're still wearing the black clothing, because you're covered in lint. And so it's not that you're lacking anything. It's not that anything's wrong with you. It's that you're covered over with the lint of life. You follow me? You're covered in lint. It's like fog covering you. I live at the coast in California, and there are many mornings where I wake up and you can't even see the ocean. You can't see the sun. You can't see the sky. Some days you can only see like this far away because the fog is so thick. Does that mean the sun doesn't exist? Does that mean the ocean disappeared? No, it means that the fog is thick. And when we burn off the fog, when we clear off the lint, the real you is right there all along. Are you with me? Are you guys getting this? And so that, okay, thank you, great. The thing about life is that before the age of 8 or 9, well, let me back up. There's a cellular memory, a cellular imprint. And your biofield is literally imprinting, that's the lint, these experiences. And they are informing every cell of your body with information. Now, maybe you can't see it or you can't hear it, but it's there. And they have equipment that measures this subtle energy, and it can show the field around the body, and it shows where the disturbances are, and it shows where the healing takes place as well. There's a couple pieces of equipment that one comes out of Russia that's really great. I've been in a science lab and used this equipment. It's quite incredible. And you won't find it in your doctor's office. It's very hard to find. More and more, it's probably going to come more into mainstream over time, but it's a really incredible. It's called a gas discharge visualization machine, and you put your hand in this thing and it measures the photons of light that come off your hand, and then it throws up all this information onto a graph. You see the data and a picture of your own field and where your field has disturbances, where there's holes or you know, gaps in your field, and different colors that represent different things, including your emotions. And it's fascinating because when I work on people and they're measured before and after, the field shows the pictures, the graphs on the computer show complete changes, different changes. And in fact, one session of high-speed healing, which is my energy healing method, showed on average a 51% improvement. And it showed a decrease in pain and 51%, and an increase in emotional, in energy, and a decrease in emotional pain as well, and an increase in energy. And so, and by the way, the people that I've worked on that we've measured said, oh no, I'm 99% pain-free. So I'm not even sure the equipment is sophisticated enough to measure everything that's happening in real time. But it's very exciting to know that we are getting a greater sense. We're able to measure these changes now more than ever before anyway, and that we can show that there really are changes occurring via the field. And the field is constantly communicating with your body. And the problem is in our world today is, and for a long time, is we just are obsessed with the body. The body's not everything. In fact, the body's the effect, not the cause. Did you hear that? The body's the effect, not the cause. And most people have that backwards. And the body is the last place that anything shows up. Are you with me? I want you to really hear me on this. The body's the last place that anything shows up. So if you want to really get to the root, the hidden reasons for pain and suffering, then we have to start somewhere other than the body, typically, because otherwise we're slapping on a Band-Aid. You know, we're working on a part, like a car part. And it may have a temporary effect, and it may last a while or not at all, or sometimes, many times, I work with people and they say nothing's even showing up on a test, so they don't see anything wrong in the body. But that's because it's subtle energy level, which is where you find that in the field, not in the body. Now, also very important is this idea that before the age of 8 or 9, your brain is not developed enough to discern what's true from what's false, what's going to help you and what's going to harm you. Your brain, I know this sounds cold, but your brain is like an empty computer with no virus protection. And it just says yes, yes, yes to every single file that's coming in. It doesn't say, oh, there's a virus there. Oh, that's going to corrupt my computer. Don't let that in. Don't download that. It's just saying, yes, go right ahead. Any file, go on in. So all this information, that's what files are. It's information. It's going in and in and in, and it's creating the foundation of everything that you think, that you believe, that you feel, that's going to then play out over the rest of your life, unless you at some point stop the train, get off the train, and start examining your thinking mind, your emotions, and your energy field. So let me say that again, because this is critical to your recovery from trauma and pain. The things that were said to you, done to you, happened to you, whether they were real or imaginary, it doesn't matter. If it was real to you, it was real to you, okay? The brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imaginary, so it doesn't matter. And that works in your favor or against you, okay? That can work in both directions. So whatever happened to you and however you thought about it and perceived it before the age of 8 or 9, your brain just took it in and said, yes, come on in, move in with me. And you accepted it as truth. And you began to see the world through those eyes. And there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS. And it will filter out, and you won't even see anything that does not fit your belief system. So whatever you were raised and influenced to believe to be true when you were young, the exact opposite could be right in front of you. A lot of other options could be right there, and you won't see them. You won't let that in. It won't even be on your radar, because that part of your brain, the RAS, will filter it out because it doesn't match up with what was programmed into your computer. You were programmed. And everyone was. So you can't beat yourself up for this. Everyone was. It's not your fault. You're not to blame. There's no blame here. But we need to examine what went in there at some point, especially, and this is why down the road, at some point, if you kept experiencing chronic pain, repeated accidents or injuries, if you kept having your trauma happen again and again, noticing a pattern maybe in your relationships of, having abuse when you grew up and then attracting abusive relationships. This is a sign that programming from childhood or from whenever, doesn't have to be childhood, but it often is. It's a sign that that's what went in there and it became your foundation. Whether you like it or not, or know it or not, you're tuned into that station. That's where your frequency is tuned in. And so you won't notice the other channels that you could be watching until, and this is why I say pain is your friend, trauma is your friend, until one day the closet's full, you can't take anymore, and you start to seek help. You start to seek answers. You start seeking. And that's why it's a blessing in disguise, because until the pain is greater than the fear of changing, you won't change. Typically, people don't change until the pain is greater than the fear. And then they say, I can't take it anymore, I need help. And they go reach out for help. But if the fear of looking at all this is greater than the pain has to get bigger first. Well, it doesn't have to. And that's why if anyone that's on this call or listening to this recording, what's so important to recognize is that the advanced way of learning is not through your own experience. It's from other people's experiences. So if anything I'm saying resonates with you, and you haven't gotten to that point where if you're at the place where the fear of looking at all this and changing is still greater than the pain, you don't have to wait till your pain grows and grows and grows and is greater than the fear. You can learn from my experience and from others that are sharing here or in my groups or on my calls, because your body's already going to give you the wisdom, and you know when it's truth for you. You can feel it, right? And so the advanced way of learning is to learn from someone else. Don't wait till you crash and burn and hit the basement. Get off the elevator before you crash on the basement floor. Now, we have to examine 3 areas in order to heal. We have to examine the mind, those beliefs, and sort out the true from the false. We have to examine the emotions and not just know how we feel, but release how we feel and do it rapidly. So we're not just feeling the shame, the guilt, the anger, the fears from the past. for years. Who wants to do that? Nobody. In fact, I think that's the biggest reason people don't go back and heal their trauma, because everyone I talk to, and this was true for me as well, all of my clients say the same thing. Here's what they say. See if you can relate to this. They say, well, what if I start to open up all this and it just makes me a wreck? And then I'm out of control. I never stop crying. I'm angry forever. It interferes with my life, my work. I have to pay the bills. I have to work. I have to take care of my kids. I can't afford for this to ruin my life. I don't have time to take off for years and years, right? Can anyone relate to that? Because I felt that way. I did not want to open up Pandora's box. Yeah, Tammy's saying yes. Lots of yeses. Because you're right, Nancy, it doesn't all seem to come up at once, but people think it will. And they don't like feeling out of control. The number one feeling that nobody wants is feeling out of control. Now, the illusion is that you're in control. You're not really in control. In fact, if trauma is keeping you from healing your pain, especially, you're not in control. Your trauma's in control. I'm going to repeat that. Did you hear what I said? You think you're in control by not dealing with your pain or your trauma or whatever issue, you're eating, you're binge eating. You think you're in control by not getting the help you need. It's the exact opposite. The pain, the trauma, the binge eating, the insomnia, the headaches, the neck pain, whatever it is, that's in control of you. And until you go deep enough and resolve it, dissolve it, it's running your life. So you're not in control. And we want to heal these things so that it's not in control. You are. It's such a paradox. So we have to examine the thinking mind, the beliefs, the emotions, and learn to release them. And you know my little chant, those of you that know me, if you want to heal, you must learn to feel. And most people are terrified of their feelings. They only want to feel the good ones. They say, Deborah, I'll feel the joy. I want to feel the peace, but no, I don't want to go near the anger because my father was a rager. And that's where my trauma is. And they make decisions they don't even realize they made to never get angry. So they've shoved it down deep. You know, especially if you were abused as a child and you were around people who were ragers or violent or hit you and hurt you or shamed you in public, you probably often, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I've discovered is a lot of people have made an unconscious decision to never be like that. I never want to be like that. I'm never going to do that. So what happens is that if anger, which is natural in many situations, it's normal to feel angry, hurt. This is a healthy feeling. But if it comes up, people who have been abused by angry people who took it out on them, they will make decisions, oh, I'm not going to be like that. And they will shut down their own anger. They will shut down their pain. They will shut down their truth because they're afraid of it. They're afraid of turning into whoever was the abuser. And it will actually keep you sick and stuck. And so we have to learn. See, one of the things I want to really help you understand is that feelings are different than behavior. So feeling anger is normal. Anger's an energy. That's all it is. It's an energy. It's a feeling. Feelings are all made of energy. Now, electricity is energy. You're not trying to stop that. But anger is different than putting your fist through someone's face, than beating someone up. That's a behavior. The feeling is not the behavior. Most likely, I want you to think about this. If you've had trauma, are you afraid of the feeling or the behavior? Right? Are you traumatized by the behavior, most likely, that you didn't want, that was taken out on you and that hurt you? And so that hurt goes so deep, and that's what needs to be released. And you may have that confused with the actual behavior of the abuse that was done to you. Can anyone relate? Are you guys following me? Could you give me some comments in the chat, please? All right. And what it does is it keeps creating patterns. You will unconsciously keep recreating. If you've ever, and I know this was true for me, have you ever found yourself in a relationship that you thought was going to be awesome, and it turned out to, it may have taken time, but it turned out to be exactly like the abusive childhood experience or the past relationship that you were trying to get rid of? Anybody ever have that? Where you said, I'm never going to marry that kind of person again. I'm never going to be around that person. I'm never going to work for that type of person. I'm going to be different than my parents. And then lo and behold, guess who you end up marrying again, working for again, best friends with, moving in with, right? Yep. And so that's because you're unconsciously trying to heal the wound from the trauma that never was healed. And it will repeat and repeat and rinse and repeat until you really get to the root and heal it. My very first mentor, she said, Deb, the lessons are going to keep coming back until you do it differently. And we keep thinking, if you're like me, I got stuck in the blame game. Well, if that person would change and he's such a jerk and oh my God, you know, I would look outside myself at them, at the villains, and blame them. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I am not condoning abuse ever. No, no, no. But what I'm saying is there was a pattern running in me, in my mind and emotions. There was a pattern in my field. And until I cleared that and learned what I needed to learn so that I stopped making the same choices, then it stopped showing up. Or if it did show up, I would recognize it and say, nope, been there, done that. No, thank you. Not going to do that again. See, it's, you know, this idea of attracting is a little, in my opinion, it's misunderstood. People blame themselves. Oh, I attracted that again. No, you made the same choice as what you did because you are unaware of the choices you're making and you're unaware of the signals you're getting from other people, because go back where it was imprinted. That was whatever you imprinted in childhood was home. Even if it was violent in your home, you imprinted that as love and home. This is what home feels like. So you're going to seek out home unconsciously. It will feel familiar. And we think familiar is right. Familiar isn't always the best choice. Your beliefs, your traumas influence your beliefs. Your beliefs and your emotional climate is what you call home. Well, what if home wasn't healthy? You're going to keep finding the same home because it feels familiar until you do the work. And like I said, it doesn't have to take eons of time, but most people think, oh, I'm just going to not do that again and that it's over. That's not usually what happens. All right, so many questions and already the time. Let me go to some of these questions in the chat first. So one of the attendees is saying that she's been experiencing severe hair loss and feeling discombobulated, and that she calls herself an empath. And so she's finding that these times right now are a quote unquote heavy ride. So any of you who feel highly empathic, meaning you feel other people's feelings, you feel the collective, you feel your own feelings a lot, then you know, you have to have a way, especially, and somebody wrote, one of the questions that someone emailed earlier was, what do I do if I'm too sensitive? You're not too sensitive, you're just highly aware. You're more aware. That's not a detriment, it's not a fault, it's not a defect. I really want you to get this. So many times the people who are sensitive think it's a defect. No, it's actually, you're more advanced in terms of your ability to sense information. The problem lies in that you don't know how to release it, and you maybe don't discern what's yours and what's not yours. And it's a boundary issue. And especially those of you who had childhood abuse, there often is a boundary issue. So you just take in everything and it's information overload. And it's like a valve that's always open and turned on, and you have to learn to shut it down or off at will. I can teach you to do that. I can't teach you all of this today, but you can learn these things in my advanced program, in my pain-free living program, or, working one-on-one with me. But you can learn, I teach everybody how to do this in my practitioner training, which I'm on sabbatical from that right now. So you can learn it in the pain-free living program, but everyone should learn this. They should learn this as a child, because children are naturally sensitive. It's not bad, it's beautiful. You're not to anything. You may be very open, which is awesome, but you also have to learn to say the door is closed now, so that you can recoup, regenerate, and not take it in, and not enmesh yourself with other people's stuff if it's not yours. Let's see. Another empathic person, another hair loss. Oh, interesting. Pain in, all right, let's see, where else the question. I'm hearing that someone understands and experienced what I have. How do you shut others down? Okay, here's a great example, Nancy. So if I am afraid of my anger, because let's say I grew up with a very raging mother, and I never knew when it was coming. She'd be really sweet and wonderful. And out of left field, when I was least expecting it, when I was finally feeling trusting again, she would throw a zinger that was super, super mean, critical, shaming, and often in front of other people. So then I just would feel like I got socked in the gut, stabbed in the heart. And when I was young, I had no clue how to deal with that. So the feeling of shame and anger that I had, until I learned to release that, if I was around other people, well, a couple things would happen. One, I was always kind of on the lookout and afraid that people were going to hurt me, even though people had no intention. A lot of people had no intention of hurting me, but I would take the experience from my mom and I would project it onto other people that looked like her, sounded like her, felt like her, reminded me of her. You see what I'm saying? Like, I would take her qualities and I would make assumptions that people that reminded me of her were going to be like her, act like her, behave like her. And then I wouldn't let them in. And I wouldn't let people get close. Now, when I started working professionally with people, if I had been afraid of my own anger, see, eventually I had to get in touch with my own rage. And to say you don't have it, for me was a lie. I would pretend I was super sweet. Well, I wasn't pretending. I didn't know I actually had rage for a long time. I didn't know I had any feelings. In fact, I got to a point where I was just very in my head all the time. I didn't know I had any feelings, really. I took drugs to mask them and drank to mask them because I didn't know how to release them. And it got very uncomfortable. So then if I had not felt those feelings eventually and learned to resolve these conflicts, let's say there I am working with a client, and that client starts to get really angry during the session, which is what happens with many people. A couple things would have happened. I would either have taken it personally when it had nothing to do with me. I would start telling myself a story about it, and I would be afraid of it. And I might start thinking I'm bad and wrong, or I'm not good enough, when it had nothing to do with me. And so then I would either try to stop her from having those feelings, make her wrong or bad for having them, and shut her down. I may even go so far as to say, we can't work together. I don't want to work with you. You're too angry, or you're too something. You see what I'm saying? I would not be comfortable enough to allow that to come up. And so it's true of any feeling or any unresolved issue. If you haven't resolved it and it comes up around your friends, your family members, your coworkers, your clients, what you'll do is you'll be too uncomfortable to let it come up. So you'll either deny it, repress it, walk away from it, ignore it, break up with them, quit, divorce, whatever. You're not going to let it come up because you don't like it and it's too scary, or it's something that you haven't dealt with. So you're going to run from it, or you'll misinterpret it, and then you get caught in the blame game. Does that make sense, Nancy? Yeah. All right. I'm still dealing with, Thomas is saying, I'm still dealing with a physical injury, and I'm still dealing with past trauma as well. I believe in quantum healing and resonate better with that than the Western method. I've been working on myself 25 years. I've done so much over the years. Can past trauma that has not been resolved slow down the healing process? Yes, sir. You are intuitively grasping that. It definitely does. Unresolved trauma will slow down everything. It affects your immune system. It affects your nervous system. Trauma affects the key aspects of the healing process. Your body, in order to heal, needs to feel safe, relaxed. Healing starts with inner peace. That's why high-speed healing is so powerful, because people who are way off the charts in terms of not feeling peaceful start to almost sometimes immediately in the first session and within a couple of minutes start to access a state of quiet and calm, a place they've not had maybe ever internally. Your healing on the outside starts on the inside. All healing begins on the inside. So if inside of you, you have not released and created a calm environment, the healing's not going to happen, or it won't happen all the way. And remember, emotions emit a vibration and chemicals, many of which are toxic or healing. But your body's a pharmacy, and emotions are releasing chemicals into your bloodstream. It's going to certain organs. It's affecting your nervous system, your immune system, your hormones. And all of this is why people don't heal. And there's not enough methods that really even, or practitioners that even know how to address the emotional cause. So that's why high-speed healing and my pain-free living program is so powerful, because I'm not afraid of it, any of it. I have worked with the toughest of cases, and I know how to help you if you get stuck along the way. Let's see, Nancy's, let's see, the tone of someone's voice and their facial expressions did it for me. Yeah, those are huge triggers. I used to see someone who reminded me of my mother or father or a past abuser, and just the look in their eyes, or just the feeling I got from them. Like I could, once you've been through abuse, you can sense it because those tentacles are out. You remember the wound. You remember that hurt, and you're looking for it because you don't want it to happen again. And so you sense it in other people, and you try to catch it before it happens again. Your brain, like I said, is wired to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you alive. So it's always going on red alert. And the problem, if you grew up with a lot of red alert, is that it became your new normal. A high level of stress, red alert, oof, it affects so many things in your physical health, because it's always on red alert. It stays at a very high, that normal level is, keeping you either in fight mode, flight mode, or freeze. And this is what happens to a lot of people. The cortisol's going, and they don't sleep at night. They have insomnia, which gets misunderstood because it's related to trauma. They have headaches. They have tremors sometimes. They have numbness. Oh my God, so many stomach aches, back aches, neck pain, all kinds of pain. just so many, even the immune weakness, all of this is because, and not always, but often it's related to the trauma, because your body is on red alert all the time, looking for the danger. Oh my God, I can't get hurt again. I don't want to get hurt again. So you're either in overdrive and you're running all the time, like running from the danger, or you're frozen where you're not even breathing, and you can't think straight when you're not breathing. You can't digest food, you can't sleep, you can't have a calm nervous system if you're not even breathing, or you're holding your breath. And the first thing we do when we're scared is we breathe short, shallow, and we hold our breath. Or you're either fighting back against it, trying to overpower it, or you're freezing up, or you're running. None of those states will lead to complete healing. So Thomas and other people, you cannot heal thoroughly until you resolve that. Helen, if you're confused, maybe you're feeling confused. I'm not sure what that means. If you're confused, type your question into the chat. Amy's saying, yes, I can relate to holding in the anger. Yeah, people are afraid of their anger. I hear this all the time. My husband bottles up his anger till he explodes a couple times a year because he doesn't want to act like his dad. Yes, oh my God, this is exactly what I mean. So that was my story. I'm a stuffer. I was a stuffer. And I have to be on the lookout not to be afraid. And you need to hear me, because it's easy to stuff and just confuse apathy and doing nothing with serenity. They are not the same. It might look the same. A person might look very serene. Oh, they never get angry. They're so nice. They're so nice. They never get angry. I've never seen them angry. That's a danger sign, because let me tell you, I don't know anyone who's healthy that never gets angry. It's just, there's appropriate anger for certain things and situations. Numbness, lethargy, apathy is not necessarily healthy and not serenity. So people who stuff because they're afraid of it will keep it down and down and down. And then one day, out of seemingly nowhere, they blow up and you think, who the hell is that? Send him back. That was my story. People thought I was so sweet. And I normally, if I'm in a good place, I am. But wow, if I've been stuffing and let it build up, it will come out sideways, really ugly. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, there's a lot of other questions in the Q&A. So as I'm working on myself and growing, will this also impact a narcissistic spouse and help them to see they have deep-rooted issues or they are a narcissist? Well, boy. So the answer is maybe, but the motivation to work on yourself needs to be for you and yourself, because there's no guarantee anyone's ever going to do what you want them to do. And if you think you're going to be able to change anyone, good luck with that. Sorry, I'm sorry to say, we can't change other people unless they become willing and want to change. Now, here's the thing. If you become and you can't, no matter what anyone around you is doing, how they are, you can change. Other people do not have the power to hold you back from changing and getting super happy and super healthy. No one can stop that except you. Just like you can't heal them, you can't heal if you're not on board with it. So when you get on board with your own healing and you get happy and you get healthy and you get a ton of energy, don't think for a second other people aren't noticing. They're watching you like a hawk, especially if you're married to them. And they're feeling you. And by the way, a lot of these people around us who we think are so whatever, they're actually in response to us many times. And there are things about ourselves, we have blind spots. And usually the characteristics of other people that we cannot stand are oftentimes hear me out, the very things within ourselves that we don't even see are going on. And these relationships are really powerful teachers because they show us parts of ourselves that are blind spots. And even if it's not true that you're like that to some degree or can be, the question is, well, why did I make a choice to be with someone who would abuse me or be a narcissist or whatever? We made that choice. So the thing that I'm really trying to stress here is you've got to work on yourself and only yourself. And then one of two things usually happens. The people around you either shift and get on board and they start working on themselves and healing, or they drop out of your life. And either one, whatever is for the highest good of all concerned is what happens. But I would not focus on them. I would only focus on you. The sick, knotty feeling in your stomach is your emotions talking to you. It is your intuition. It is your knowing, your body's wisdom talking to you. And usually it's an emotion you're not fully allowing to come up. And it might make you feel sick, quote unquote, because you're not releasing the emotion, or you need to take some action in order to release the emotion. You may need to say something or do something that would help that emotion get resolved. Let's see. Tammy's saying lately the emotional trauma from her childhood, such as severe neglect, being unvalidated, criticized, it's been surfacing for her, especially while being around certain family members that have criticized and bullied. And that's still in your current life, is what you're saying. And so now she's saying, I'm in a place of confusion, not knowing if I should not spend time with these family members. Ultimately, I would like to heal my emotional wounds and be capable of setting healthy boundaries. Yes, well, I'll share my own example. And, you know, some of these questions, I cannot just give you a one-sentence answer. I would need to work with you deeper on this. And that's where my programs are helpful, because I'm not going to give you some quick fix answer without really helping you go deeper so that, you know, you're doing what's best for you. Your answers are inside of you. But your confusion is because you've got old ideas and new ideas that you've learned from me. They're meshing together. Ask yourself a question. If you did know the answer, what would it be? Because your question implies that you do know the answer. When you said, see, a voice inside you is saying, maybe I should not spend time with some of these family members until I'm capable of setting healthy boundaries. That's what I hear you saying. But my question to you is, what would keep you from doing that? What would keep you from, and let me ask you this, if it wasn't your family, what decision would you make? See, people get family and other people, they would make very different decisions. Most people are running on guilt when it comes to family, and guilt is driving their decisions, guilt and obligation. And so if it wasn't your family, would you make a different decision, and would you know the answer to your own question? And I bet you do, Tammy. And I would be happy to help you explore that further. Let's see. Yeah. What if a family member is emotionally abusive? Exactly what I just said. Why would you tolerate abuse? Why would you make a choice to tolerate anyone abusing you? That is your issue. Why would you, once you know better, why would you tolerate anyone? When you're 6, of course you don't know. They're the people supposed to take care of you. When you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, why would you, for 1 second, tolerate anyone abusing you? The link for the healing session, go to the website. I'll type it into the chat right now. There's several ways to work with me. You want to email, you can either email contact@internationalcpi.com. What I would recommend if you want to go very deep with me privately is have a discovery session with a healing session, but I'll explain more, or come into the program where I have a longer time to work with you. That's really the smartest move, is to go to internationalcpi.com/PFLP. That's the Pain-Free Living Program. But you could also have a discovery session with me and a healing session. And that is internationalcpi.com/discovery. And if you have any questions about those, you can learn more about what these offer. And then if you have any questions, just email us, and either I or my team will help answer your questions, and we'll find what's the best fit for you. But definitely take some action, because especially Roberto, from what you've asked about here today, I can certainly help you get this resolved in the fastest time. And let's see, oh, this is a brilliant question, Gail. Can weight gain or the ability to lose weight be because of emotions and stress? 100% yes. And believe it or not, a lot of weight issues are directly related to abuse, particularly sexual abuse, physical abuse of any kind. This is the #1 reason for any of you who have weight that just won't come off, no matter what you eat or don't eat, no matter what exercise, no matter what supplements, no matter. I've had people have gastric bypass surgery and still not be able to keep the weight off. Let me just share the direct link for so many people is abuse and weight. Think about it. Weight is padding and protection. And if you've been sexually abused, it's a way to keep, and again, I'm not saying this to you directly, Gail, I'm saying this in general. This may or may not be the case for some of you, but this is what I've seen working with lots of people. And I'll share with you in my own life. I am certain that I kept my body looking very, very ugly for years because I was afraid of being abused by men. And I did not have strong boundaries. So the only way that I knew how to keep men away was to really make myself look terrible. And I completely shut down my sexuality. My feminine energy went underground, and I cut my hair and everything. I looked like a boy. And I didn't know I was doing that on purpose. I didn't even own a dress. I did not know how to manage sexual energy, feminine energy, so I shut it down. And the same is true for weight. I worked with a lot of women in particular. It can happen for men. It's not just women, but a lot of women who were very heavy or even just somewhat heavy, but it was a way to keep the men away or keep the abuse, thinking, well, I don't think that most people do this consciously. It's usually very unconscious. And it can also be from overeating, binge eating, because you're eating to soothe the emotional pain. So there's many reasons for this, but absolutely yes, the weight and the ability to lose weight are always connected to emotions and stress, and oftentimes abuse and trauma. All right, so the time, like, see why I could talk about this for months. We need to do a mini course in this, which I plan on doing. In fact, I want to share with you all, like, it's a little premature, but in a week or two at the most, I'm going to announce something really special that I want all of you to know about. So I want you to come back next week and keep an eye on your email, because I've finally discovered a way that I'm going to be able to work with all of you more often in a very affordable way, so we can go deeper into these issues. And I'm just so excited. I can barely keep my mouth shut, but we're working out all the details now. We're almost there. So I can't wait to share it with you. And I hope you'll all support this and support yourselves by, it's a way for you to stay with me in my world. Especially if you like these calls, you're going to like it. So, all right, let's see. And then if you know you really want to go deep with me in the advanced program, I highly recommend you come into the Pain-Free Living program, because it's still going to be there for the advanced work. And it's the way to go the deepest with me in a very safe group. And that's what you need. If you feel stuck around all these issues I'm talking about today, you just don't feel safe yet. You need someone you can trust that isn't afraid and knows how to guide you. And then you feel safer. See the same effectiveness in your other programs. Yes, so one person here is saying, in a perfect world, I would work with you one-on-one, but that's cost prohibitive for me financially. So, but and she's asking, can I see the same effectiveness in your other programs? I've researched other healers and have taken their less involved programs and have not seen results. I'm speaking freely. I appreciate you speaking freely. And yes, that's why I created the group program, because there aren't enough hours in my day. God, I work 15 hours a day right now. That's why I can't take on every client one-on-one. So, you know, if you want the most intimacy with me, I only work with people one-on-one for a month or longer, 1, 2, 3 months usually. And other than that initial discovery session, but then that's why I created the group program, because we go deep and people have tremendous healing. There's people on this call today who have completely, you wouldn't even recognize them because they've been through that program. And so, yes, don't be afraid of not getting help. You speak up, you show up, you raise your hand. We have more time, and I give you the tools that you study on your own as well. And then you bring your questions to the group. And it's a way for you to really get what you need in a safe space and transform. It's designed for you to transform. And it's a more affordable way. And Valerie is saying, thank you, Valerie. Valerie says, it works, exclamation mark. Invest in yourself. You see, so, you know, take it from the people who have been there. It works. Read the testimonials. You know, it's better, take it from them, not me. But it's just a way for me to have enough time. As you can see, I have a big mouth and I like to teach, and I have a lot to teach and share, and I have a lot of skills, but I can't get it out fast enough. So this is a comprehensive way that would help you get it faster. And then you go through it again and again, and you have the tools there. Even if everything doesn't heal in 6 weeks, you now know the tools that you can keep using. You don't have to keep searching and looking for another healer, another program. You've got exactly what you need, because there's only 3 areas we need to work in: the mind, the thinking mind, the emotions, and the energy field. That's it. There's nowhere else to go, you guys. Nowhere else to look. So I give you those tools, and then I help you with your blind spots or where you feel stuck. So, all right. I can't believe it's 6:16. I want to take you through a little exercise before we stop tonight. And please come back to High Speed Healing Wednesdays. I'm not going to do them every single week for free for the rest of my life. So take advantage while they're still happening. Come back next week. There will always be at least one that's free and open to the world. But so please come back while they're still weekly until we make a change. I want to take you through an exercise now that's very powerful if you're suffering from trauma or pain-related trauma, especially if you remember the trauma, or even if you have a sense of it and don't remember it in detail. You can use all right, so first of all, no driving, only sitting in a safe place, okay? If you're not in a safe place, shut it off now and come back to the recording, which we will send you tomorrow. All right, so I'd like for you to sit down and close your eyes. And I'd like you to think about the first example that pops into your head is the one to go with. I'd like you to recall either a traumatic experience, a deep hurt, an experience that you know still plagues you, bothers you, causes you to feel seriously angry or upset, or it just has a big charge on it. All right, so a trauma from the past, a deep, significant hurt, wound, pain, or an experience that makes you really angry when you think about it, you know it's not resolved, all right? I'd like you to bring that up into your mind with your eyes closed. And I'd like you to think about it. I'd like you to think about it. And I'd like you to, if you can visualize and see it in your mind's eye, and I'd like you to notice a picture in your mind's eye that represents this trauma or painful experience. Now, if you're someone like me who doesn't visualize things easily, I want you to just imagine an image or a symbol that represents this painful, traumatic experience. So whether you see it, doesn't matter. If you see it, great. If you don't see it, I want you to imagine what would a picture or a symbol, what would that be that represents it? And I want you to bring that into your mind's eye right now. And I want you to get a clear image or imagine clearly what that image is, even if you're just telling it to yourself. Okay? And I'd like you to put a picture frame around it. Imagine or picture a real picture frame around it. And it's covered in glass. The image is, I'd like you to imagine the actual image is made of glass, okay? Just make it up. I'm asking you to use your imagination. So the image itself is made of glass, and you're going to put a picture frame around that image. Got it? Now, I want you to imagine you have I want you to go to a room where there's a floor. It's not carpeting. I want you to imagine you're in a room and no one's with you. You're safe and you're in a empty room, and the floor is some kind of vinyl or tile floor, no carpeting. And I want you to imagine now you're seeing on the floor, there's a hammer. There's a hammer. I want you to pick up the hammer, and there you are. You've got your glass image with the picture frame, and you're safe by yourself. You're totally safe. And you got a hammer in your hand. And I want you to take that hammer. I want you to put the picture on the floor with the glass facing up. I want you to take that frame, and I want you to smash that glass and frame into smithereens. Just smash it and smash it and smash it until it's teeny tiny particles of glass. And smash it and smash it and smash it till you can't even see what the image is anymore. It's just all these pieces of glass. You can't even tell what that image is anymore. Smash it and smash it and smash it right now. Give you a minute to do that. And now I want you to notice in the corner there's a vacuum cleaner. I want you to get that vacuum cleaner, and I want you to start vacuuming up all the pieces, all those little pieces of glass. Get every little bit of it vacuumed up. Hear the vacuum cleaner sucking up all that glass. Notice the floor getting clear and cleaned up, and vacuum up. Take a few minutes now, a few seconds now, and vacuum up all the pieces, all of it, until that floor is spotless. Take a minute, get it all vacuumed up right now. Now, take the vacuum cleaner, open it up, take the vacuum cleaner bag out, and I want you to imagine you're walking to the trash dumpster. Outside your room, open the door to that room. Go outside the room and there is a giant trash dumpster. I want you to dump that vacuum cleaner bag into the dumpster. Close the dumpster. Go back into the room, shut the door, and listen. And listen to the sound of the garbage truck that's coming now and picking up that whole dumpster and taking the trash away. Hear the sound. Hear all that trash dumping into the garbage truck. Hear the sound of the garbage truck driving off into the distance. Hear that sound getting further and further away till you can't hear the truck anymore. Now I want you to take a moment and go back to the memory. Go back in your mind to the trauma, the event, the pain, the hurt, the anger, and think about it again. And notice what's different, if you can even bring it up. Notice what's different when you think about it. And I want you to type in the chat or in the comments on Facebook, or give me a thumbs up if you notice something has changed or is different, or if you can't find the memory, or if you feel it is different or changed in any way. Type that into the chat. What are you noticing? Give me some comments in the chat. What do you notice? And the question is, Nancy said, I could no longer internalize the memory. Beautiful. Nancy, you have cleared that memory. It's no longer in you. That is a powerful example of how you just healed from that. Elena is asking, is it okay to apply this exercise to the death of a loved one? If the death of that loved one is causing you pain, absolutely yes. Anything that's causing you pain, you can do this, yes. Let's see. Oh, Deborah is saying, I didn't want to come up. Does that mean you didn't want the memory to come up, the pain to come up, or you didn't want to come back from the experience? I don't know what you mean there. Gail is saying it feels softer, not as harsh. Now here's the thing. Sometimes you need to go through this and do it 2 or 3 rounds of this in order to really get it out. But if the fact that it feels softer, not as harsh, not as vivid, that is clearly a sign of healing, Gail. So it's working for you. Great, that's wonderful. Métis is saying, it works, I'm not afraid anymore. Awesome, yay, I love it. Pete says the image is paler. Okay, Pete, that's a sign of healing it. If it's getting lighter, maybe it's lighter in color, or the colors change, or it feels calmer, or you don't feel the charge or the emotion, or you can't find it, you can't see it, you can't hear it. See, these are all different signs that you are healing it, releasing it. And so go back and do it after we leave tonight, go back and do it again. Another round or 2 until it's gone. This is one of the fastest ways that you can release deep-seated pain. Liz said it feels smaller. Yes. Yay is right, Nancy. Mark says it's gone. All right, we like that. 1 round and it's gone. That's my idea of fast, right? And I'm the high-speed healing girl. You know I like fast. All right. Tammy said, I am no longer in the picture, and the picture I saw is empty. Tammy, yes, this is a sign of massive healing. Clarity said, I have a sense of relief, no clear picture there. Yes, another sign of healing. Do you guys hear all these? These are all examples of it worked, another comment, it worked. Regina said, a great shift in emotions, much less charged. Awesome. Deborah said, the image wasn't welcome anymore. Beautiful. Very good. Lori said, if you have more than one experience causing pain, can you think of them all at once? Go for it. Why not? Try it. Absolutely. All right. Jean says, I didn't notice any difference and I visualize easily. It was a 6-month recovery and hurts just as bad as when I broke my back. So Jean, you're someone I need to work with further because if you didn't notice any difference, there's a reason, a deeper hidden reason. There's something, and I would need to ask you more questions. So again, discovery session is perfect for that. The program's perfect for that, but don't give up. You certainly can heal this. There's just something that is hidden from view, and I would need to have a deeper conversation with you. All right, let's see. I think that's all the comments, and the questions are a couple other questions. How do you heal people at once in the group setting? Great question, Helen. So HighSpeed healing, the energy healing I'm talking about, works. Remember earlier in the call, I talked about the field, that we're all interconnected. This works in that field, and we form a collective field. And it's like me working on one single body or person. Even though you get individual results, we form one field. And I work on that field as a group every week in the program. And believe me, everybody gets individual results. And I don't need to know. See, we have this is a very different way that healing works. We're used to, where does it hurt? Fix the symptom in one person at a time. This has nothing to do with any of that. It is a completely different system of healing. And I'll teach you more about it in the program, but it works, and it's worked for years. It's worked for thousands of people at one time. And it's very, very exciting, new edge science. You can even look up biofield science. There's research. There's lots of different research. It's called by different names, but it's all based on the entanglement theory in physics. And there's some other explanations for it as well, but it's all about this biofield and the interconnected field that we are all a part of. And talk about sensitive. I am super magnified sensitive, and I can feel where the disturbances are for individuals or when we form the collective group. And I have help from the divine mind, the divine intelligence, call it God, call it divine mind, call it higher intelligence. It's not just Deborah working here. You have to understand, I am completely connected to what are known as galactic frequencies of healing. This is an entirely different conversation. I will definitely do a call on that one week, but this is not Deborah and my mind, my brilliant mind. This is so much greater than Deborah. And I've been given access to this many years ago because I prepared the soil to be able to bring in galactic healing frequencies. And from the day it started, people have had massive healing, and it's the most exciting thing that ever happened to me. So stay tuned for that episode. All right, you guys, it is 6:31. It is time for me to be quiet. I cannot thank you all enough for being here today, for such great participation. I hope that you really feel, a lot of you obviously feel the relief from this one little technique. This is one of many in my bag of tricks that I teach and that I love to coach you on in my programs, and come back for more. Believe me, I'm so excited and passionate about helping people heal and getting over this idea that, oh, you just have to learn to live with the pain. No, you don't. And healing may be easier and faster than you think. And it is my great joy to share that with you and have you experience that. So thank you for being here today. I'm glad, thank you. I'm glad you thought it was wonderful. Thanks everyone. Much, much, much love to you all. Do not stop. Don't give up. Do something today like you did. Keep doing what you did like today, so your future self will thank you. All right, much love. Bye for now.